morning, everyone. Thanks for coming down here today at Gila River Arena. As you all know, in June, Coyotes President of Hockey Operations and General Manager John Chaika acquired one of the NHL's best goal scorers in Phil Kessel. We're pleased to have Phil here today, along with John and Coyotes President and CEO Aaron Cohen, to introduce Phil to the Valley media. We'll start things off by kicking over to John for a few words.
Yeah, thank you, Rich. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. Appreciate your time. The arena's not a bad place to beat the heat right now, though. But, yeah, it's my pleasure to introduce Phil Kessel. When we had the opportunity to acquire Phil, I remember talking to our new owner, Alex Morello, and describing Phil as one of the most prolific goal scorers in the National Hockey League, two-time Stanley Cup champion, someone that would fit in well with our players, our coaching staff, and really address a direct need of our team. Someone that I felt could take our team to the next level. I think he's got a guy that's going to excite our fans for a long time, dynamic player. Like I said, he'll score a lot of goals. So, with that said, I want to introduce Phil.
All right, thanks.
Please state your name and affiliation before asking your question. We'll start with Craig Morgan from the Athletics.
Craig Morgan from the Athletics. First off, welcome to Arizona. There's been a lot written about your relationship with Rick Tocchet and that being that point and you coming here, wanting to come here. First of all, let's hear that in your own words. Was that a big factor, and what other factors excite you about the Arizona Coyotes?
Obviously, me and Rick are good friends, but I think this is a good group of guys. A good young team, and as of last year, you can see they're building something here, and I wanted to be a part of that. I think my time in Pittsburgh, was coming to the end, and I felt that, and I think this is a great situation for me, and I want to help this team any way I can.
Why do you think this is a great situation? Have you looked at the roster much?
Yeah, I think I can fit well and help this team get to the next level. I've been around the league for a long time now, and I think I can fit in here and help the young guys grow as players, and help them take the next step to make this team into a contender and get where we want to be.
Great. Phil Malling from Arizona Sports, welcome. You touched on it a little bit already, but just as you kind of played in the league for several years now and seen the Arizona Coyotes from afar and playing against them, how have you kind of seen them change and grow and evolve, especially the past several years?
Yeah, I think when Rick came in here, the team is starting to gel a little more. They've gotten faster. They play a good two-way game, and I think I can help. More on the offensive end. In the tight games. If you need a goal here or there, and on the power play, hopefully I can get one. And we can win those tight games 3-2, or get the go-ahead goal to go 4-2. And hopefully I can succeed in that.
Hey, Phil, Martin with TV, CBS 5, welcome to the Valley of the Sun. How would you describe your personality, your game on the ice, and also your personality off the ice?
Yeah, I'm pretty reserved off the ice, to the media, honestly, but, on the ice I like to have fun. I'm a competitor, I want to win, and, that's the main goal for me always. I don't really necessarily care about my individual stuff. If, your team's having success and, we get where we want to be.
Okay. Phil? Alex Kinkoff here with the Arizona Coyotes. Welcome to the Valley. Obviously, the start of a new season always brings a fresh feel, but when that comes with starting with a new organization, is there a rejuvenated feel that comes with that?
Yeah, I think so. You want to, almost prove people that, you want to do better than you have in the past, and I want to make this team into a playoff team, and I want to do that, right? Like I have that in my gut to try to make that happen, and obviously I'm going to do whatever I can to make that happen.
And a follow-up question for you, Aaron, as far as the excitement that this acquisition has brought to the organization from the business side, fans everywhere, like what have you seen and what have the quick results been?
600%. Come on. No, I think everybody in this community is really excited about what he brings to this team, and people see the trajectory that we're on. And we've had a really good summer, ticket sales wise.
selling a lot of Phil the Thrill t-shirts, so I think there's a lot of good buzz and excitement going into the season.
Hi Phil, Seth Pines from ABC 15 Arizona. What was your initial reaction when you found out the news that you were coming to Arizona?
I was excited. Obviously, like I said earlier, that I think this organization's been building something here in the last couple of years, and I think I can add the next step so we can get to the playoffs, and you never know what happens there, and that's what I want to do here, right? I want to grow this. I think it's a great city. I'm happy to be here and try to grow into a contender.
Bill, you're coming from a team where there were some marquee names. When you walk into this locker room, you will arguably be the marquee name. Does that impact you in any way, whether it's your mindset or the way you approach things?
No, not really. I'm going to do what I do, right? Like if I need to lead a little more here, I'll lead a little more, but I'm out here to play hockey and, try to help these young guys, grow. If we can grow and everyone can get better, I think, there's no stopping us.
John, Ken Summers, Arizona Republic. We heard so much about the buzz building with the new ownership, Phil's acquisition, season ticket sales increase. Does that influence your job? Does it change what you do now and the way you approach it?
I think we've been talking about here, we've been building to this point for a number of years now. So I don't think it changes my job in the sense of, getting off plan or anything like that. I think we just continue down our plan, and certainly you want to be opportunistic. And when you get an opportunity to acquire a player like Phil Kessel, that alters the course of your plan a bit, but in a positive way. And I think with that comes expectations. I think those are positive things for our young players, and I think that's a big part of getting Phil here as a guy that he's played the big games, he's played on the big stage. A big part of us acquiring him was knowing that we're getting a guy that in those big moments he's had a lot of success, and I think we're trying to embrace those expectations and some of that buzz.
Is that a positive thing for a young general manager too?
Yeah, but expectations, absolutely. I think, like I said, we all are in this game for one thing, and that's to win. And that's why Phil's here. I think talking to him, he's very motivated. He wants to show people that he's here to win, as do I. And I think that's a big part of the reason why we acquired him.
Phil, I'm just wondering, obviously there's been discussion already about your relationship with Rick Tocchet. Do you think that your relationship with Rick could change now that he's the head coach?
I think it might have to change a little bit, right? I don't know, I don't know how it's gonna work necessarily. Obviously we're good friends and we get along great, but there's a business side here, and I think our friendship has to almost take a back seat to what we want to accomplish, and obviously there's going to be times he's going to be mad at me and he's going to yell at me, and I'm just going to have to take that and respect that because we want to win.
Phil Silverman, The Athletic, sort of building on that, your relationship with Rick Tocchet and more so your familiarity with his coaching style. One of the big things that he's brought up at the start of every season is they bring in new players each year, young players that are still adjusting to it. Do you foresee yourself being able to almost help with that transition for all the acquisitions, already knowing the coach and being able to say, this is how I've seen him do this in the past, this is sort of the way that he approaches things, and sort of help with that transition for the acquisitions?
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to see how he handles this now a little bit differently, and now he's the head coach here, so I'm going to get more used to him here, but I know how he is. He's a great person. He cares, about the players and everyone, and he's a competitor. If you know Rick, he wants to win more than any guy, so he has that fire in him, right? So try to help if he gets a little fired up, I'd say.
Phil, Alex here again, ArizonaCoyotes.com. Your career, collegiate and pro, has been spent in the Northeast. Did you ever envision yourself playing out here professional hockey out west?
It's different, right? All my time has been basically on the Midwest and the East Coast, but I'm excited, right? I like the warm weather, so it's nice to be out here and, something different, right? It's a time in my life where, I'm ready for something different and, I'm ready for some change and, want to try something new and, grow something.
What are your thoughts on the growing fan base here in the Valley?
It's great. I've only been here a couple days, but my couple days here, it's it's awesome here. The people are great, and I'm really looking forward to this, and hopefully we can grow into something, and we'll get a lot of support, and we'll fill up the building, and we get the fans and the city excited.
Phil, was there anybody that you talked to after you were traded about just kind of what it's like to play here, maybe people who play on the team, and what did they tell you?
Yeah, I talked to some of the guys. A lot of guys text me, and they said it's just a great group of guys. A great organization. Nothing but positive things to say. About the city and the people, and living here and playing here. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Any more questions?
Sorry. Hi, Phil. Seth Askelson, Ice Time Hockey Southwest. You've won on a consistent level, on many different levels. How do you bring that experience and your knowledge of how to win consistently?
Yeah, I guess, you lead by example on the ice. If guys have questions, you answer them and try to help them. And like I said, help guys grow and, have that, know how to win, right? In close games, find a way to win. If things aren't going right, you still gotta, kind of battle it out and, figure out a way to get that goal or, keep that lead, and, hopefully I can bring that.
Any more questions for the group? Okay, Phil, John, and Aaron will be available for one-on-ones in the hallway. Thank you very much, everyone.
All right, hockey fans in the Desert Southwest, it's another Hockey Talk in the Desert Southwest. This is a two-folder. As you can see, I'm right here at Gila River Arena. I've got the man, Clayton Keller, behind us. I've got the other man with the Athletic, celebrating the one-year anniversary with the Athletic. Craig Morgan is with me. Craig, first of all, welcome in, and thanks for stepping in.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. A lot of things been happening with the Arizona Coyotes.
Yes.
So as soon as I thought, who am I going to reach out to for Hockey Talk, I figured you. So tell me a little bit about what your summer's been like. I know you got a little bit of vacation maybe in this time, but it's been pretty exciting, hasn't it?
It has. My family and I went up to Colorado actually for a week, and that's actually when I broke the news that Alex Morello was buying the team. But beyond that, actually, I had a pretty good summer, and actually a relaxing one for a change. We were away in Malibu for a couple weeks. Nobody interrupted me with any stories. And I actually just got a chance to go back to Chicago and Madison and do some research for stories I'm writing on the Coyotes. So it's been a good summer.
All right. So tell me a little bit about the year with the Athletic first. We can get a little background into this. The stuff that you guys produce is awesome. You're there every day. You see what's going on behind the scenes. What's it been like to work for the Athletic?
It's been a dream, to be honest. I've worked for a lot of outlets. I think most people that have been in this market for a while know that. Just about every outlet. But the things that they give us are resources, time, and trust. They want us to write deeper, more insightful, better stories, and they give us, again, the time and resources to do it. So it's really been a dream job in that sense. And unlike the past where I was having to do Cardinals, ASU, all these other things, they just want me to focus on the Coyotes. So it's been a dream job.
Well, we cover the Desert Southwest, so I get a chance to run into your partner up in Vegas, Jesse Granger, a lot. I trust what you guys get because you always seem to get the right stuff. And a lot of times right now in the media and with social media, a lot of stuff gets thrown out there that maybe is not factual. It's trying to get hits and things like that. But what's it been like trying to get facts?
Well, that's been the core of hopefully who I've been as a reporter for a very long time. So it's how I was drilled and taught to do things. So I don't think it's hard sometimes to uncover the truth. A lot of times you have to dig, you have to have a lot of sources, you have to develop those sources and develop trust with those sources, but that's always what I'm after.
All right, we're going to dig into the Coyotes here because a lot of things have happened, a lot of good things. I've been around here for 29 years or so now. You've been around here for an awful long time. You've seen this, not only the organization, but the team and everything goes with it. First time we can comfortably say we've got an owner with a B in his name, right, with a billionaire.
Yes.
How important is that to this organization?
I can't even quantify it at this point because everything starts from there and filters down.
Right.
Whether you're talking about marketing or corporate partnerships or payroll, all these things that we think about. They just haven't had an ownership group that has had this sort of financial wherewithal to make sure all those things are operated on a first-class basis. So they've had to cut corners. They've had to be efficient.
Right.
They've had to be smart about what they do. I'm not saying they're not going to do all those things now, but they have the ability to make mistakes now and maybe buy their way out of them at some point. But they I think you're already seeing some of the impact in terms of the hockey side of things.
Right.
Alex Morello was part of the decision to bring PHIL Kessel in here to make that trade. And certainly he signed off on signing this guy to an 8-year deal yesterday.
Absolutely. So let's take a step back before Alex Murillo, because I've made a lot of comments over the last year or so, but to me, one of the biggest steps they ever made was bringing in Aaron Cohen as the president and CEO. Aaron, to me, I don't know if he said this publicly or if he just said it, but I think he gave a presence of, let's quit talking about arenas, let's talk about hockey, let's talk about grassroots hockey. We've seen him out at deck rinks, we've seen him out with the Kachinas, all these different things. How important has Aaron Cohen been over the last year or so?
Couple things that I would say about that, because you're right, he has talked about that one of them is messaging. There have been so much focus, I think, in the past on the excuses for why the Coyotes couldn't do things, and he said, let's do away with that. Let's stop talking about excuses and find a way instead. The other thing that I really admire, and I think I said this to him actually the other day, I think what might be his legacy as president is just what an inclusive environment he has created with the Coyotes. That's their brand now.
Yeah.
They really are embracing the entire community, and that's so big in any market, but especially in a market like this where you're still trying to grow the product, build the franchise.
So over the last year or so, how big of a role do you think Aaron played in building and placing the foothold, the stability on this program that brought in a guy like Alex Murillo? Was that important in your estimation?
Well, I know he did a lot of work on it. I can tell you that. I know Aaron's frequent flyer miles he must be able to like take the whole family to Europe every year. I don't think he has time to do it, unfortunately, but he is. Every time I talk to him, I feel like he's in a different city. I know he's working extremely hard, and I know he was a big part of this process.
Okay, let's get back to things on the ice. A lot of exciting things on the ice. We talked about Mr. Keller getting an 8-year deal. A lot of people looked at it, they said, good, bad, indifferent. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are, let's wait and see. I don't, I'm not one of these people that jumps into instant evaluation and say it's a good deal or a bad deal. I understood the Coyotes' thinking behind it, because they're, when you look at, first of all, when you look at the market this summer with all the RFAs that are unsigned, John has been proactive. He did this last summer as well, or last season as well, getting Christian Dvorak, Nick Schmaltz, and Jacob Chychrun all signed before their RFA years came up. He's tried to stay ahead of this curve, and you don't know what the market's going to look like, first of all, when all these RFAs finally sign their deals. It could change things dramatically, but it's also a statement about believing in the player. I know he had a down season last year. There's no getting around that. But that's just, as John said, one data point. There's a lot that they still believe in this player, and I think when you get a few years out, when the cap continues to rise, you've got more revenue coming in the league, the number's not going to look as big, and they're probably going to feel at that point that they have him for a bargain, assuming he's producing like he did his rookie season when he had 65 points.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that on the ice. When you look at what he's had to do with losing line mates to injuries, things like that, how important is a healthy Nick Schmaltz and guys like that to help in Clayton Keller? We always talk about his ability to make other people better, but maybe it's time now that some other guys make Clayton Keller better.
No, that's absolutely true. You can't dismiss all the injuries they had last year in possibly the impact that it had on his game and production. I don't know what that point number is if they stay relatively healthy, but yes, it absolutely impacted. The personnel around you matters so much. We've talked about this with Oliver Ekman-Larsson. People expect him to be a 55-point guy. Well, who's he playing with?
Right.
That matters. So I do think, and I don't know who Keller's going to play with yet this year, if it's going to be with Schmaltz, who he developed some chemistry with, but having those guys in the lineup will certainly help him.
Okay, so we talked about two things. When I travel to Desert Southwest, almost every team from the NCAA level to the ACHA level to the NHL has talked about a couple of things: character, depth. I've never heard it more often as I have this offseason. Your thoughts on character and depth on the Arizona Coyotes?
I said this, I think, in a recent story that I wrote, and I've covered this team pretty much since they got here. I had a couple years where I wasn't on it as much, but I think this might be the most harmonious locker room that this franchise has ever had. Yeah, it's saying a lot. I mean, that doesn't always lead to wins, right?
Right.
But it's an important factor to have that right culture. And that was a big point of emphasis, actually, when they brought in some of these veterans like Stepan, like Goligoski, all these guys who are, I hate to use the cliche good in the room because it gets way overused,
Yeah.
but when you're in this locker room and you see the way they interact and the way they interact with the media, that matters. It really does matter to have that culture.
And with the signing of a guy like Phil Kessel, it kind of says that Arizona's arrived, right? I mean, I put a Twitter poll out the other day. I said, who have you been more excited for as a hockey fan in the Desert Southwest? Gretzky, when he came on board, obviously not on the ice, but in the ownership part of it. Brett Hall, when he came at the end of his career. Or Phil Kessel, right? But all big names, Jeremy Roenick, Keith Tkachuk. But is this the biggest name we've had in a decade?
Yeah, since Roenick and Tkachuk, I think it is.
Yeah.
I don't think in their Glendale tenure they've had a player of this sort of profile that Phil Kessel brings. And obviously he's got the production behind it, the 2 Stanley Cups as well. But just in terms of a selling point for the team, and I talked to Phil a lot about this, I think he's going to try to be more of a public face of this franchise as well. But yeah, it's important to have stars to sell your sport. You got to have stars, and this guy's one of them.
All right, let's take one quick break. Let's come back and let's talk about the guy behind the bench and Rick Tocchet. I know you've gotten to well, you know Rick, and you've gotten to know him even better as a coach, but let's talk about that when we come right back.
Sounds good.
Pre-game like a pro, post-game like a champion at College Bar and Grill. Located across the street from the iconic A Mountain and Sun Devil Stadium and a quick walk from Wells Fargo Arena, College Bar and Grill is your home for the best local craft beer, delicious creative cocktails, tasty food, and Tempe's best atmosphere for Arizona State athletics. College Bar and Grill. Pre-game like a pro, post-game like a champion. Online at ilovecollege.co.
We're back in on Hockey Talk in the Desert Southwest, everybody. I still got Craig Morgan with me with The Athletic. And again, I got to touch on this, celebrating 1 year with The Athletic. And I know you got a little party to go to tonight, so I appreciate you taking time. But you guys do a great job. I got to give compliments out where compliments are due, and it's terrific. It's one of my biggest follows. I'm on there all the time, so I hope you guys don't mind me piggybacking a little bit.
No, I appreciate you following us, and we absolutely are appreciative of our subscribers. Obviously, that's our lifeblood because we don't do advertising or any of the other normal sources of revenue. So it's nice to see that it has taken a foothold here in Arizona.
Okay, we talked a little bit about the players. We talked a little about the new ownership group. We talked about Aaron Cohen. Let's talk about Rick Tocchet and the addition of Phil Housley to his staff. How important? What kind of changes are we going to see?
Well, Housley's going to run the power play, first of all, so that's going to be fascinating to watch, to see what he does. You know, I don't think they have their entire personnel grouping set yet, but I do know that Kessel and Schmaltz are going to work the half walls. OEL is going to be up top. And I think they're going to try and find some creative ways to get Jacob Chychrun in the shooting lanes. They like his shot. They want to take advantage of it. The question I have is who's net front at this point. I don't know who fits. Maybe it's Lawson Krause. Maybe it's Christian Fischer. Maybe it's Carl Soderberg. Could be any one of those guys. But how do you work Clayton Keller into that mix, too? It's going to be interesting to see what they do there. But there's going to be a lot of experimentation in camp. But as far as Housley, if you look at their blue line, I think I did the research before. They are the second highest paid blue line in the NHL.
Right.
So from a defensive standpoint, you know, you tie for fifth in goals against. They did a terrific job there with the help of the goaltending, obviously.
Right.
They need to produce more points. They just didn't have a very productive season offensively. Some of that, again, is the injuries and the style that you have to play. But I think that's a big reason Phil Housley is here, to try and unlock some of that offensive potential. He was one of the best in the game at playing offensively from the defensive position.
What does it say about Rick Tocchet to take in a guy that was just a head coach up in Buffalo and have no fear to bring him on and have him work on this staff? And sometimes head coaches don't like to do that. What does it say about Toc?
Yeah, he's confident. He's got 2 former head coaches on his staff, so he just wants good ideas, and I know he loves bouncing it. And look, Toc's an alpha, right?
Yeah.
He does rule the roost, but he likes ideas. He likes bouncing around ideas. And some of my best conversations are when he's just running through all these ideas. His mind is racing so fast sometimes. I don't think his mouth can keep up sometimes, because he's always running new ideas. So I think he's really going to enjoy having Phil here and maybe experimenting a little bit.
All right, so let's kind of pick your brain a little bit about what's going to happen this season. Obviously, everybody wants to get off to a fast start. You've seen the schedule.
Yeah.
Is that realistic? Can they get off to a fast start?
October and November are tough. They do a lot of travel. So, yeah, and as I wrote recently, Rick Tocchet's not happy about that schedule. When you look at some of the times they go back to the Eastern, the Central time zone, and then fly, they'll fly back. They have one day off, and then they got to play again when they come home. It doesn't happen to other Western teams as much as it happens to the Coyotes. So that's one area where Alex Meruelo can step in and say, hey, wait a minute, we need to change something on this schedule. But I know what you're saying. It's important to get off to a hot start. They need that from a confidence level to stay in the race early in October and November. But I don't know if it's going to be a hot start or if it's just sticking around. You got to stick around in the race, and then you get to the more favorable part of your schedule.
You know, last year when I was up in Vegas, I looked at their roster and I said, the first 20 games that they play without Nate Schmidt up there, I said, if they can just hold serve, basically, play 500, they'll hang around. They did, and they hung around. They were eliminated in the first round. Kind of the same way here? Do you think these guys can just jump out, gel together on the road, and start putting things together?
That's always a possibility. You know, coaches will talk about that. Like, sometimes the road is better because it removes all the distractions of home, like family and all the responsibilities. But it's pretty tough on the body, and I think we saw a little bit of that last year. So they're going to have to find a way. I know he won't use it as an excuse, but they're going to have to find a way to stick around, because if they can, with the changes they've made, with the health, and with the progression of some of the young players, I think this team has a really good chance to challenge for a playoff spot.
Okay, so everybody that hockey coaches on at any level will tell you they want to build from the goal out. We've got two pretty good ones here in Antti Ranta and Darcy Kemper. How important are they going to be to the success of this team this year?
Critical. I think this team is a team that still needs top 10 goaltending. You can say that about a lot of teams, but I think this team needs top 10 goaltending because we still don't know about the scoring. We assume it's going to be better than last season, but this is still a team that its bread and butter is the way it defends. So you're going to have that kind of goaltending in order to succeed. Fortunately, they've got a tandem that, I mean, they both earned a shot at being a number one right now. This is a really good tandem, a really good setup, and I don't think it's going to be an even split. If you had to press me, I'd probably guess that Antti Ranta's still going to be the number one guy, but it's going to be more, I think, of a 1-1A where Kemper plays a significant amount of games, and that might help Antti Ranta stay healthy and stay fresh too. Okay,
two more things I want to touch on. Alex Galchenyuk went out. He was a big part of the roster last year. He had to make the trade. You got to give up something to get something. Mm-hmm. So we're going to miss his locker room, his on ice, his energy. Talk about a little bit about P.O. Joseph, who we lost on the defenseman. Is he going to be missed as much as Galchenyuk?
Well, I don't know yet. I mean, he never made his way up here. There's some projections that didn't see P.O. above a third pairing defenseman. So you can probably replace a guy like that. But in terms of character and who the guy is, he's an incredible human being. I just absolutely love the kid. I'll miss him for that reason alone. I think we all know the story of when he gave up the hat trick. When he gave up the goal, it looked like so that his teammate could get a hat trick. It was just an amazing situation.
Okay, and let's wrap it up with the newbies, we'll call them. But Barrett Hayton is looking like a man who's on a mission this year. Has he got a shot to get in this lineup?
He's got a great chance of making it. I just did a big piece on him, actually, just talking to strength and conditioning coordinator, the skating coach, Tockett, obviously, talking to a bunch of people in the organization, the development coach as well, Mark Bell. He's put on 10 pounds of lean mass. He's been here in Arizona all summer working out, just really didn't take much of a break. He's really hungry for this, and I think there's a really good chance he makes the jump to the roster this year. What's going to be interesting is to see where they slot him in. I'm not sure he's going to start at center because they're so deep up the middle now. But they feel
That's strange, right?
It is, but yeah, exactly. When's the last time we were able to say that? But Rick Tockett believes he's a hybrid sort of guy that can move to the wing. And even when they drafted him, when Tim Bernhardt was here running the draft, he told me at that point he's a guy who can probably play lower in the lineup because he plays such a complete game, so you can trust him to be responsible defensively.
Okay, and then the first-round pick this year, another defenseman, another Swedish defenseman. It's no secret that John Chaika likes some Swedes. Tell us a little bit about what you've seen from Victor so far.
Haven't been able to see a lot. You can't read a lot from development camp and rookie camp, but they love his skating. They love how poised he is. They actually love his stick positioning and all that on the defensive end too. So he's a mature player. He's a well-developed player. I don't think he's going to be on the roster this year when you look at the blue line they have. So the main decision here is, do you send him back to Sweden for a year of development where he's comfortable with his family, with his friends, he knows the environment, or do you bring him over to North America and play him in Tucson because he's eligible to play in Tucson to learn the North American game? And there are benefits to both. So as training camp unfolds, they'll evaluate where he is, and they'll make that decision at some point.
All right, we're going to wrap things up. A prediction time. I know you love this part of it. I got your partner, Jesse Granger, on the line tomorrow when I'm up in Vegas. So I know what he's going to tell me, what he thinks is going to win in the West. Your thoughts in the West?
On who's going to come out of it to play for the Cup?
Exactly. Who's going to come out of it?
All right, you can tell Jesse I'm picking Vegas.
Well, he told me he was picking the Coyotes. Craig, I especially appreciate your time tonight. I know it's a big day for you, and development rookie camp, I should say, is underway here at Gila River. So we'll see you around. Let's hope that everybody stays healthy so we can see just how good this team can be this year.
That would be nice to see. Yeah, just that simple fact will probably play a major role in their success this season.
All right.
Hey, Michael here from M-Drive. My dad, a world-class scientist, actually made M-Drive for himself to stay active and continue enjoying life. And yes, M-Drive supports healthy testosterone, but it's so much more. M-Drive is the everyday supplement to fuel your drive with more energy and more strength. Listen, we'd love for you to try M-Drive too. Visit mdriveformen.com and we'll give you 20% off your first purchase. Just type in the code DRIVE at checkout. Refine your prime with M-Drive.